Welcome to another episode of the We Have a Meeting podcast. Today we are joined by one of my favourite faces on LinkedIn, a thought leader in the world of sales and a problem solver when it comes to the next generation of SDRs. Bisho's work aligns with what we do at We Have a Meeting, and today we want to tap into that fountain of knowledge to know what we should and shouldn't be doing when it comes to training SDRs and booking meetings. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Bisho Chamssuddin. How are you, Bisho?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, guys, and I'm looking forward to having this awesome chat with you.
Beautiful. So, Bishop, we always like to kick off in the same way because I think it really it kind of gets everyone to understand a little bit more about you. So, my dad can get very easily confused. He sometimes looks out the window and doesn't really know what day of the week it is. So, if you were sat down with him and you had to explain what you do for a living, what would you say?
I would tell him, listen, Jack's dad, do you know these people that used to come a couple of years ago and knock on your door and try to sell you things?
Mm-hmm.
He would say, yeah, I probably had that experience. I'll tell you, that's exactly what I do. I teach people how to do that on the phone and LinkedIn and email.
Right. Okay.
That's how I would explain it.
And he'd say, well, those people that used to knock on the bloody door, they were awful. So I hope you're doing a good job, Bishop.
Yeah, I will tell him, don't worry, nobody's going to come and try to sell you any cleaning products. It's only professional services. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not going to be annoyed by a cold call if he gets one.
Beautiful. And I imagine you work with a variety of different SDRs, some with experience and some that are blank canvases. Say we're starting with a blank canvas, what would you say is like the first tool that you need to add to this young or a brand new SDR that doesn't really have much experience in that world? Where would you start?
So the first thing I would start is, so this is what I feel like most companies actually make a mistake, is they start by doing product trainings. I think that's a wrong approach. I think the first thing that an SDR needs to learn is customer analysis, is understanding the perspective of sales by looking at customers, understanding that companies have specific pains, that personas have specific problems that needs to get solved. Mm-hmm. And then they need a solution for this problem and then build on, because the first thing SDR has to know is what am I selling? What am I working for, right? But I wouldn't start from the perspective of a product. I would start from the perspective of the customer and make sure that the SDR really understands, okay, what are the problems that the customer is having? And how does our solution solve those problems? Not technically, just from a benefit type of things. Because these are the things that the SDR is going to basically base his messaging on. If the SDR team lead or the head of sales understands that good prospecting messaging is based on problems and benefits rather than functionalities. And this is where I see a lot of companies going wrong, focusing too much on the product and the SDR training and not on the customer. So this is what I would start with. Understand your customer 100%.
That's interesting. So how would you start that? How would you paint that picture for someone then? Because we have that problem with our clients as well, where they're selling on the features of their product rather than the problem that product can help someone solve. So if you were trying to teach an SDR how to get their head around that process, how do you start?
So the way we work with our clients is we created like a template, a spreadsheet of specific things that they have to fill out. And we give it to them as a homework. We tell them, you have to go internally, ask questions. It's a homework. You have to go internally, ask questions to the people in your company and answer these following questions in this exact order. What are the pains? How did that get solved? Or what are the pains? How did that impact the business? How is the solution looking like? And what were the benefits? And what was the reason the customer actually made the decision? You know how it is, Pareto 2080. Usually it's one or two reasons why a prospect actually buys a product. And that's very important for the SDR to find out. And then we tell the SDR, if internally you can't get these kind of answers, reach out to your account executive, tell your account executive to set up a meeting with your current customers, have a meeting with your customers, talk with your current customers and ask these questions. Ask them, what were your problems before you started working with us?
That's great.
How were those problems impacting you? How did it impact not only your company, how did that impact you as a person, your daily life, your day-to-day business? Because you know how it is, like people buy not only for the for the benefit of the company, they buy for their personal benefit, right? So how is that affecting them personally? How did the solution affect the company, and how did that affect them personally on a personal level? And why are they actually working with them, or with us, or with the SDR? And actually go and fetch that information. We don't start working on scripts. We don't start working on email sequences, LinkedIn messages until we have that information really nailed down in the SDR's mind.
Because I think I've been doing a work with a couple of different clients, and when it comes to like the selling process, it's a hard one because they say, well, this is how it's going to affect the business, and it sounds a bit, do you know what I mean, unorthodox, but we kind of say, no, you need to find what it means to them. Are they having late nights? Are they not seeing their children, their family? And I know it sounds crazy for me to say, I'm going to try and sell you this crazy platform just so you can maybe spend more time with your wife. And you're not wording it like that. But once you know that the root cause is that, well, that's what you can sell on. That's the problem that you're solving, not just the company.
100%. Like, personal motivations are the reason why you might end up having a champion internally who's going to push that through and get you in front of the CEO and actually push for the budget. And they're not going to do that if they don't see a personal benefit for themselves.
Yeah. So, Bisho, who taught you then? Are you self-taught? Did you go through some stringent training? How did you come to be one of the sales masters?
Sales masters, that sounds funny. So maybe so how it all started, basically, it all started in a coincidence. I was studying something completely different and I hated it. I honestly didn't like it. And then I stopped my university and I wanted to find something to work just to help my parents, because I came from Syria, came to Germany in 2013. So I had to support my family. And I started applying for jobs, and I applied for this one job, really just looking at the salary. I didn't even read the description. And then they called me. They were like, "Hey, Bisho, you applied for this job. You want to come for an interview?" And I told the lady, "What is this job exactly?" And she told me it's a street fundraising face-to-face sales job, basically, where you would stand on the street in different cities in Germany, approach people and sell donation memberships, where people are going to have to sign a paper with their bank card and start donating $120 a year minimum. So I got accepted into that job, although my German wasn't amazing back then. But it was just my motivation to go there was, hey, I just want to earn some money until I figure out what I want to do with myself, because I had no idea. And I ended up discovering my passion for sales exactly there, and discovering my passion for talking to people, building relationships with people, feeling how people are at a certain moment and adjusting to them, because this is what sales is about. It's all about energy and how people are feeling and stuff. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with it. I ended up just doing a normal marketing international business college degree. And then I started at Solvemate. My current business partner and I were the first SDR hires, and nobody before us did any prospecting, and we had no experience at all. And the interesting thing is that Jonas, my business partner, comes from the same background, and he actually worked for the exact same company as me, fundraising, only 5 years before me.
Amazing.
And we met there back, and my first team lead was with him in his team. So there was this smash between us, and we had nobody that can help us. And we honestly did I think 7 coachings in the first year. We did so many different things because we understood that we don't know a lot of things. We understood that we don't have a system, and we need to create a system to have predictable revenue. Mm-hmm. So we took a lot of coachings, and we found out that most coachings teach one certain methodology. This is the cold call script you should use. This is the email script you should use. And we started trying all these things and finding out, okay, this is working, this is not working. This is working, this is not working. We started filtering out all the things that did not work for our personality, for our product, for our persona. You guys know how it is, right? You need to adjust to the product, need to adjust to the industry. There's a lot of principles that are right, but there's no one solution fits all. So it took us 3 quarters to find a process that works perfectly for us.
Wow.
But we tried so many things, so much trial and error, things that are working, then rinse and repeat until we figure it out. And we started consistent booking our meetings and overachieving our goals. Back then, we needed a coaching program just like what we created now. Because what we created now is a coaching program where we say, hey, wait, we know what works. We have this huge toolbox of prospecting approaches. Let's see from our experience, how can we get as soon as possible to the process that fits the best for you? And this is something that this kind of approach we did not have back then. We only had, hey, do this and do that. Now, what we do now is more of a, we think from our gut feeling and experience. And now, obviously, we have been working with plus 12 customers. So we have a better feeling on what works in which industry, what works in which department. We would say, okay, according to our experience and gut feeling, let's try this approach for 1 month and see what happens. Let's reflect on the results and optimize. And we typically need 1 to 1, like it depends on the SDR, but until now, on average, we need like 1 to 2 months to figure out something that works. And this is how we got here, basically.
So those approaches that you found back then, they're part of your toolbox now. So the things that you found out back then became your coaching program.
Exactly. We put everything we learned from all the coaching programs that we did in one coaching program, but we only choose from our experience, what do we want to start with? Let's try this approach. Let's try this kind of email approach. This kind of LinkedIn approach. There's multiple ways to do a cold call. Let's try this approach. Let's find out what is the best opener that works for your personality.
Okay. Yeah.
Benjamin tells you like Benjamin, for example, he loves that opener with, hey, probably gonna hate me, but I'm a salesperson. Would you like to hang up or give me 30 seconds? That's my favorite one. I love that because you need to have a certain personality to deliver that correctly, right? For someone who's a little bit more timid, we have seen that an opener like, hey, we don't know each other. Would you like to hang up or give me 30 seconds to tell you why I'm calling? Works a charm, but the wording is different. So the person doesn't feel comfortable saying that they're a salesperson.
Yeah.
So you need to figure out those things according to which person needs what.
And what would you say?
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Sorry, Jack.
What would you say is the worst opener that you've heard?
I would say, hey, Jack, this is Bisho speaking. How are you doing today?
End the podcast. End the podcast.
What? This is just the worst one. I can't stand that one. Yeah.
So
I can't believe if people do it.
We found that, I don't know if you found this as well, but when you ring people specifically in the States, in America, they find it odd if you intro without your company and where you're from and those kind of pleasantries. That approach of like the Benjamin approach or the one that you just mentioned can be like a bit more startling. So do you think there's anything culturally as well? If I was selling into Germany, would it be different than if I was selling into the UK or the States? Have you found anything there?
For sure. So the thing is, like, in the UK, the difference is in the UK, Benjamin really like understood this, like, you're probably gonna hate me. He labeled the feeling of the person before speaking to him, because I know this from experience. People in the UK are just more open about talking about their feelings. Open in Germany, people are a bit more closed off. So in Germany, you can't call someone and tell them you're probably gonna hate me or I'm probably gonna ruin your day. I just call and say, hey, am I speaking to this person? Yes. Listen, I'm a salesperson. Would you like to hang up or would you give me 30 seconds? But if I was to go to the UK, I would label the feeling first. So this is you want to look at how people are. Here, people are a little bit more closed off. So if you label their feeling, it's you putting them on the spot, and they don't like that.
I like that.
People in the UK are a bit more open with it. People in the UK are a bit more open with it. So this is what I've seen, for example, the difference. When I call into, for example, the Nordics, I like to say, hey, I'm going to be straightforward with you. I'm a salesperson. Because people in the Nordics are just super straightforward, and they love people. Like, they don't waste time, people in the Nordics. They're just super straight. And I love that. So this is how I like to open it. It works like a charm. Yeah.
I did some dialing for the Nordics, and I tried, obviously, the standard Benjamin dinner, and I was like, this isn't working. I'm really like, and it's like the first time I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to have to switch up the game plan. What do we do here? And I did it. I went in a bit softer, and I asked for people's help a bit more, and you kind of, there's probably more territories that we have to kind of work out, but I think that's good. And from what you're saying, it sounds like the training that you offer isn't like a one size fits all, because how can it be?
It's impossible. How can it be? We're talking now about cultural differences. Now talk about department differences. Talk about industry differences. You know how it is. Like people who are, for example, working in the banking industry are way different than people working in SaaS companies. Then you have these new tech mobility people. And then it's just then you have like the platforms, and you have the cloud people. They just tick differently. And you have to adjust. So there's no one solution fits all.
I've been selling a software to plumbers in the UK at the minute, and the pitch had to change entirely because you have to get straight to the point. They might be busy in a job, you've got to cut straight to it. You've got someone on the mobile phone, and I found that just telling someone straight away. So I would ring them up and say, "Look, Bisho, if I said I've got a bit of software that might make your life a bit easier, would the thought of that wish you never picked up the phone?" And they say, "Well, go on, what does it do?" And I say, well, typically it helps people that are doing things on 67,000 spreadsheets, or they're keeping track of jobs in their head and they wish they had a bit more time in the day. But you're probably going to tell me you're really organised. No, I wish I was really organised. And then before you know it, you're into this. But yeah, I think that's true, because I think the 30-second opener, all the different things, really, it's different things work for different people in different industries, dependent on the day as well. You might get someone on a good day, you might get someone on a bad day, different personality types. So I think that's an important message. There's no silver bullet. It's not going to work every time for everyone.
No. There's principles that work, but there's no silver bullet. Like if you were to ask me now, hey, if you're going to call a plumber, what would you say? I would tell you, I don't know. Let's try this and test it for 30 days and see. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like I wouldn't be able to give you a direct answer.
Yeah.
I would tell you, hey, we can find it out. Give me a lead list and I'll find it out for you. But I don't know it now. What's the best one for it? I can't tell you.
The toughest one that we found is finance. When you're speaking to finance people, so you've got some sort of finance offering, financial advisor, finance software. Seems to be that finance people, because they've got more of like an analytic personality, the sort of chatty, laugh at my joke, laugh at my intro. They're very like, can you just get straight to the point, please? I'm not interested in.
Yeah, good. Yeah, get straight. So you mean like selling to financial institutes and selling to banks or something like that?
Yeah, like financial advisors. That we work with financial advisors, so it would be maybe selling to people who have retired and they've got a lot of money in the bank and they don't know what to do with their investments, because it's almost like selling double glazing or PPI. It's a call that happens so regularly. How do you cut through to the point quickly, I suppose?
Interesting. Yeah. I will be able to tell you directly, like you have to probably be straightforward, try different things, but like how has your experience been? Like what worked well for you?
We found what we've nailed down today that started working is being really honest with people and not trying to fluff it up at all, saying, you're probably going to hate me. This is one of those pesky financial advisor calls. Does the thought of that make you want to slam the phone against the wall? And they normally laugh and say, well, I am already with someone. Yeah. Okay, well, did you want to hang up? Well, no, go on. What did you... So it's like... So we do find a way. But anyway, so it's a long point to my to my ramblings there.
Yeah. But awesome, but that's in the UK, right? What you just told me.
No, that's in the UAE.
That's in the UAE. Very interesting. I've never done prospecting in the UAE. I might actually end up working with someone, so that's very good insight. So they're like, okay, interesting. But like, I mean, I've done financial institutes in Germany, and I also did like something like, hey, I saw on LinkedIn that this is your job title. We don't know each other. Do you mind if I just tell you why I'm calling?
Yeah.
Because I found out that because here in Germany, especially, like I know this in the banking industry, in the financial industry, how it is. Like it's a sorry to say this if anybody here from the financial industry is listening, but it's an ego-filled industry. It's an ego-filled industry, and people love their titles. So I tried this. I was like, hey, I saw on LinkedIn that you are. I was selling like an HR solution for mental health back in the day. And I was like, hey, I see that you're leading the HR at this bank. Do you mind if I tell you why I'm calling? And they're like, yeah, I am leading the HR at this bank. Tell me. Like you can hear it in their voice that it just triggers their ego,
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think it's so important if you can really like stroke egos. Like flattery, obviously, it's not what you want to use to sell, but if you can get that from the offer and that's your pattern interrupt, I think that's some really good advice, Bisho.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, with the company, you've been doing some great things for some good time now. Where do you see it? If you were to like fast forward 5 years, or before we push you out on your yacht into the Mediterranean, and you've got a pina colada in hand, what kind of things have you got left to do?
I mean, when it comes to, I mean, it's not like things for me. The most important thing is I want to say that I have helped plus 400 sales reps become superstars in their job, but most importantly, that I actually motivate them to have healthy habits and a healthy lifestyle, because I believe that there's a culture problem at sales and there's too much performance. Like, I feel like the focus is too much performance driven, but I believe that performance comes from energy, and energy comes from good habits, healthy habits, a good morning routine, a good journaling routine, taking real breaks, understanding how to breathe, eating correctly, working out, because this is the framework around everything you do. You know, like if you want to focus at only because performance and doing the right call and hitting quota is like the picture in the middle of the frame, you know, but if you don't have the frame around it, the picture is going to fall out. And there's a reason why salespeople have one of the highest burnout rates in the world. It's not a coincidence. Like that's not information from me. You can find that information on the internet everywhere. Salespeople have one of the highest burnout rates in the world, and it gets under my skin, you know. And that's why I understood. Hey, wait, like I am performing on a high level, and I'm super healthy. You know, I take care of myself every day. Everybody can do that. It's not really hard. It's just habits and discipline. And you know how it is. A habit kicks in after 60 days. It becomes natural. You know, people say, "Oh, I can't do that." Well, you can. You just need to do it for a couple of weeks, and then it's going to be a part of your personality, and then it's going to change you forever. You know. So there's a lot. So this is you telling me like, okay, I want to make a certain amount of sales reps overachieve their quota, but I will be happier if they actually end up being happy, healthy, having like a good mental health, and just feeling, you know, content with themselves.
It feels like
because there's a lot of anxieties everywhere.
It feels like there's like a cultural change that's motivating you as well. You want to be leaving things better than you found them, not just per salesperson, but like change the actual sales culture.
For sure. Yeah, I want to change the sales culture from let's focus on a well-oiled machine to let's focus on the person running the well-oiled machine and make sure that he's running or she's running perfectly. Because you see, like, for example, salespeople, like it's very easy now to find a job as a salesperson. And it's also very important for companies. Like, you don't want to lose your salesperson, but you are going to lose your salesperson if you're just thinking about goals and top-down goal setting from ventures to SDR. People are going to end up leaving because they're going to feel just like money-making machines, you know, and this is a reality in the sales world, you know. And I am seeing a shift, but it's not being talked about yet on a bigger scale on social media. So this is why every once in a while I try to drop something about take care of yourself, breathe, take breaks. If you feel like you're having a bad day, I just put a post on this today actually, you know, take yourself out for a couple of hours out of work and, you know, breathe, do meditation, go for a walk, you know, talk to your family, you know. Make sure that that's your focus. You know, I always tell people, what are you trying to do? Are you living to work or are you working to live?
Very true.
You know, which one are you? You know, I'm working to live. I'm not living to work. You know, I'm not here to work, but people are just so consumed in their work that it affects everybody. I had times in the past, before I figured out all these things, where my ex-girlfriend would tell me at night, hey, I feel like you're still working in your mind. Just couldn't shut off. And most people are like that, just can't shut off.
Yeah.
You know, and no wonder she's my ex-girlfriend. Anyway, you know, I'm not surprised they were not together anymore, just didn't work. So now I'm like, wait, like I want to be able to be happy after 6 p.m. I want to be able to just have energy at the end of the day, to have like healthy conversations with my mom, with my dad, with my sister, my brother, my friends, you know. And it took me some time, but I think everybody can do that, you know. So yeah, this is my focus.
So on that then, I mean, you've probably seen this just as much as we do. There's often salespeople get very attached to, I must book the meeting, I must do everything in my power to close the sale, and by having that desperation to attachment, you end up actually fluffing the process and becoming just another statistic of that sleazy, slimy, desperate salesperson. So when you're teaching people, how do you educate them on removing that attachment? How do you address that issue?
I mean, this is a perspective shift in life. This is not only about sales. Like, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the output or are you focusing on the input? It's the exact same thing with anything you do in life, you know? Like, literally anything. If you want to like go to the gym and you're all the time thinking about how am I looking, it's just going to get in your head the whole time. And it's going to block you from doing the exercise the right way. But if you're focusing on doing the exercise the right way, then the results are going to be the same. And this is what I tell people. I tell them, hey, look, this is your current conversions. You know, we got to a point now. You know, if you do $100, you're going to book 4 or 5 meetings. So focus on doing dials. Don't focus on booking meetings. So just, it's a perspective shift from looking at output to looking at input. And I tell them, don't use this only for sales. Start training it in anything you do in your life. I tell guys, if you go out on a date with a beautiful lady, and the only thing you're thinking about is what's going to happen later, you're probably not going to get it. You know?
That's good advice.
But if you're focusing on being in the moment and having fun and listening and asking good questions, the result's going to be automatic. It's actually going to be asked of you. It's going to come to you. You're not even going to need to ask for it. And this is what I feel like. Even when I do cold calls, I feel like booking the meeting is a natural effect of me having a good conversation with the prospect.
Yeah, 100%. We always say that.
You know?
Yeah, because we've got some new sales guys that we've taken on at kind of graduate level, and that's what we've been teaching as well. You find that if you do the middle bit right, the process bit, so the opener, the middle part of the conversation, you have that effective chat. The person on the other end tends to probably close themselves anyway if you're asking the right questions, and they say, okay, well, what happens next? And, you know, we get into that. So I think that's really good advice. And then what about objections? What's your stance on objections? Obviously, that's a big topic, but are you the sort of person who addresses them before they come up? Do you have a different approach if one comes up? Do you have like a uniformed approach to objections that you typically advise?
So on a cold call, you mean?
Yeah, on a cold call. So obviously, I'm not interested. Price, we're with someone else. How would you normally address those?
So the first thing I always tell people is whenever you hear an objection, don't say anything for 3 seconds. Take a 3-second pause, because what most people do is they freak out. They start, oh yeah, but we can do this and this and this and this and this, and they're just like blabbering all type of nonsense. You know. So the first thing I tell them, hey, gather yourself first. Because when you're handling objections, it's way more about your tonality than what you say. And then I told them, hey, wait, understand, is this an excuse or is this a real reason? You need to understand the difference. I'm not interested doesn't mean, that can mean so many different things. So I tell them, hey, when you hear an objection, slow down. And then I teach people how to dig deep and understand what's actually behind the objection. So don't handle the I'm not interested. Understand, what does that mean? I tell them, hey, when you say you're not interested, does that mean that you're already working with another person? Or maybe you just don't have a budget at the moment? Even if both are wrong, they might correct you. No, it's because this and this and this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now you got the real reason. And now you can work with it. You know, what if they told you, well, we are just in the middle of a very, very, very important project, and I really just don't have the capacity to do it. Like, okay, how long is that project going to take you? Maybe another 4 weeks. Okay, if I told you that we can help you do this and this, is there any reason why we can't book a meeting in 6 weeks to talk about it? No, there's no reason. All right, cool. How does this date at this time or this date at this time work for you? Well, it's good. So the first thing is understand what's behind the objection, because once you do that, again, the psychology of it is the prospect thinks, okay, this guy is not just trying to sell me, he's trying to understand me. Even if they don't think it consciously, this is how they're going to feel. You know? So 3 steps is just slow down, take a deep breath, understand what they're trying to tell you, and then find a logical solution to what's happening, you know? Just real quickly, yeah.
Amazing. And Bisho, before we let you go, let's imagine it's your first day as a charity fundraiser. You're on the streets, and from the distance you see Bisho now. okay? And you're going to be a little bit freaked out, like, how's this happened? Why is he here?
Yeah.
But what advice would you give to that younger Bisho now on his first day as a fundraiser to make sure that he could maximise and he's not going to knock on my dad's door and my dad's going to slam the door in his face?
Run away. No, I'm just kidding. If I was to see myself, I would look at myself like, just run. No, I'm just kidding. I would probably tell myself, understand that people buy things to solve a problem and not to get a benefit in the first place, and make sure that you know how to organize your day. These two things. If I would have learned these two things way earlier, I would have probably been way further than what I am today.
And when you say organise your day,
yeah,
what do you think that you were lacking back then? Because obviously, I imagine.
I just had no time management skills. I didn't understand what focus management means. I didn't know how to prioritize. I didn't understand why I should prioritize. I didn't understand why I should eat that frog. I don't know if you know that book, which means why should I do the most important task at the beginning of the day? And why should I plan my breaks first? Like now, the first thing I do every day is I plan my breaks first. That's the first thing I do. I build a framework around the day. I put my breaks first. I see where I have meetings. And then I know, okay, I have this slot where I can work, this slot where I can work, and this slot where I can do deep work. And then I write a list of all the things that I want to do. I prioritize what is the most important thing. And I then put in the calendar, okay, this most important task goes in this slot, this goes here, this goes here.
Wow.
If I was to understand this, I would have been just way more efficient in the way I would work. You know? So yeah, that's basically it.
That is a real game. I've noticed from starting the business, I had to put that in place straight away, quite because otherwise you end up fighting fires. Everything's getting a bit of attention, but not enough, and you end up just nothing gets done properly. And obviously,
and then
sorry, Bisho.
No, I was just gonna say, like in that, like there's a lot of things to do, but there's only 20% of the things that are gonna get you 80% of the results.
Yeah.
So there's some fires that you won't be able to work with at a certain point, and it's fine. Some things they're allowed to burn, because they're not going to get you a lot of results. So you need to ask yourself, what is the biggest fire that I have to turn on at the moment? This is the most important question that I never ask myself. You know?
Yeah, and we're still at a size where me and Jack have our own clients still, as well as having people who are working doing the job. So really, there's no distinction between director level and the SDRs and things that we're hiring. So I find that knowing when I'm going to be most productive on the cold calling front was quite a key thing to figure out. I think it's different for everyone, but for me, it's like first thing in the morning when I get in is like that's the prime time. But I think everyone maybe is slightly different, so finding that. And also knowing that you're not expected to do it the whole day. Like that was when I first started in sales, I thought you sit here till 6 o'clock at night and just do cold calling the right way through. But it's more like it's like sprints, power hour, time off, more action here, meeting here. You know, your day must work in a format that suits.
And it's also a question of how much time do you actually have at the day to cold call. And if you have this much amount of time, what is the best slots for you to cold call? And I have found out that the best slots are 8 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. So if I had to choose, if I had so many things to do and I was like, I only have an hour of cold calls today, then I would, even if it's very important and I need pipeline, I would still not, if I had a slot, if I had meetings in the morning, I would not cold call from 11 to 12, even if that's the first deep work block that I had. But this is because I have the experience knowing I have the highest connection rates from 4 to 6 p.m. So that, okay, wait, cold call is important, but it's way more efficient to do it there. So let's put it there and let's do the second most important task first. But this needs experience to figure out, okay, you need experience to figure out, okay, what are the most important tasks and how can you do them more efficiently? You know?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And then, Bisho, if people are wanting to work with you or start that process, how does that usually work? Do they find you on LinkedIn? Is there a different process? What would you advise if people are listening to this and want to pick your brains?
LinkedIn is the best place to reach me out. Just connect with me on LinkedIn and let's have a chat. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and you post some really good posts as well. So even there's a lot of freebies out there, free nuggets of information that people can get from you. So I'd
I'm trying my best. Try my best to drop some content. Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, thank you very much. And if anyone wants to connect with Bisho, LinkedIn is your best bet. Same for me and Jack. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you.